Alright, so today's video is going to be a bit different, and I might try and do this style more often, and actually it might be what I only really do. I'm going to play the XM803 and MBT 70, and I'm going to talk a little bit about their history while I have some gameplay in the background for them. If you want to see videos like this more, definitely let me know. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the first game. So the XM803 and MBT 70 are also the KPZ 70, which is the KPZ 70 is the German MBT 70. They were a joint program between the US and Germany during the 70s, I'm pretty sure. I will put like an actual date range, but it was a joint program between the US and Germany during like about the 70s-ish to get a gun launcher tank, and it uses the 152 millimeter gun launcher system that can fire both standard shells or standard rounds as well as the MGM 51C. And it's a pretty interesting idea to have a gun launcher system on a tank, because it allows for guided long range as well as the usual standard rounds. But they had a lot of issues where the launcher system was just too complicated, and so they had to eventually scrap the project because, I mean, the systems were just too expensive and the gun launcher system was just unreliable, as well as the Germans were closely guarding like their trade secrets, and it was reducing communications between the US and Germany during the development. And wow, I'm not sure how I didn't pen that guy. And then also the project in general just got too expensive. It ended up, I think it was like getting near $80 million, I think, for the US alone. That number doesn't seem right to me. I'll see if I can find an actual number, or at least estimate. But I know the project was just getting too expensive, and also it was the lack of communication, and then the gun launcher system being unreliable, and then also the MGM 51 itself was just too expensive and complicated to be used reliably, effectively, and cheaply, of course. Pretty sure I'm going to be doing voiceovers as well, so yeah. as I figure out more information. Actually, most of the information you get is probably going to be voiceover. So some with these is that if you can see there, the driver's cupola actually stays still because that's actually where the driver sits, and the drivers were kind of struggling with that, as they were used to being stationary, because, you know, usually they're sitting in the hull and not twisting around, and it was causing the drivers to get sick or disoriented, and that was one of the issues with the overall design of it. I mean, I think that's actually a pretty cool system, but definitely not denying the fact that it could get extremely disorienting. And I could not imagine sitting still while everything else twists and turns around me. That would definitely be disorienting. But the Germans were also testing out their, I think, a 120 as well. Alright, so I'm gonna let future me take over the talking for about the history of this, but I do want to say something real quick about the tanks. The MBT-70 and the XM803 have hydropneumatic suspension, which means they can do the funny up and down and the tilting stuff, which is pretty cool. And they also... the MBT-70 came before the XM803. The XM803 was actually the solely US version that came after they decided to cancel the joint operation between West Germany and the US during the Cold War. And it was made of cheaper parts and all US materials, and that's about all I can find right now. But yeah. I hope future me finds a lot more information. Otherwise, this might be a very empty and short video. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of it. So one more thing with the gun launcher system is that the ammunition it used was vulnerable to water, and it would become damaged if it came in contact with it. And then also, the gun launcher system would actually damage the caseless ammunition of the XM and MBT-70, which is a pretty considerable risk, or pretty considerable detriment. Bad thing. You know what I'm trying to say. And then also the ammunition would also cook off prematurely, which is really bad. And it would cook off prematurely because the heat from previously launched ammunition would actually cause it to launch anyways. Like, I think it was mainly the Shalalas, I think? Yeah. And then also the what am I saying? The 20 millimeter was also proved to be too complicated and basically just inefficient. It was too difficult and overly complicated to be used effectively. And more issues during production was that the weight itself, it kept increasing the weight of the tank during its production. It went from about 46 tons at the beginning of the project to about 54 tons during the development. And then it went down to 50 tons, and Germany was concerned about the high weight of the tank. So the XM803 doesn't have hydropneumatic suspension. It has a more simplified version of the National Waterlift hydropneumatic suspension. Okay, so it's still hydropneumatic, but it has a more simplified version, which is why in game it doesn't get as low as the MBT 70. And the the XM803 was actually heavier, and it was slower than the MBT 70 because they're trying to make it cheaper, or as cheap as they could. There is an estimated $200,000 saved per tank compared to the MBT 70. And the gun launcher system was replaced with a different one, and the 20 mil obviously was replaced by a 50 cal, and the ammunition capacity was increased to 50 rounds, which is, I think, 2 rounds more. But ultimately, all the changes were insufficient to outweigh the concerns about the tank's cost, and the tank was then canceled, and that was basically the end of the XM803 and the MBT 70's story.
Attention to the designated grid zone! Enemy forces have captured a zone.
Alright, well, that was the MBT 70 and XM803. They're not bad if you can get in like good spots and you can play it right, which I clearly can't. But it's not like I played much in this game very well either. But they have very similar playstyles. I mean, one of them, the only difference is that you have a 20 mil instead of the 50 cal. The dart is decent, but you know, if you get up tiered, I don't know what it is, but if you get 9-0 USA into a 10-0 game, it just falls apart. I don't think I've ever won a up tier with this lineup. No matter how hard I would carry. So I don't know what it is about that BR for US teams, but you know. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I might see you in the next one.